we have Cesar going first. You should be able to share your screen, right? And let's test it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right, you have the floor, Cesar.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. So my project is a live lobby. It incorporated a blockchain called XRP or Ripple, but the token is called XRP. The idea came from I was always interested in, not always, but I'm interested in blockchain development. And I thought that this Stackathon project was like the perfect place for me to really try it out. So XRP has a SDK that allows developers to like create apps based around their blockchain and to utilize their blockchain. It's called the Xspring SDK. So if you click the bottom down here, it takes me to this webpage, and you can make an account, and it allows you to create apps on their blockchain. And so my idea, I wanted to make an app that allows people to really like try it out, to try out the blockchain and like, it's more of an educational tool. But you know, it's like a side project. This is nowhere near, like, you would never see this in production, but this is something, you know, anyone could try out and see how, and try to understand how like a blockchain and cryptocurrency works. Alongside the XRP blockchain, there's also something called PayID, and it's supposed to be something that it's like almost like an email, but instead of like a long string of characters that cryptocurrency is known to really have in order for you to use, it's simplified into like a really small like email address looking thing. So if you click the Learn More button, you can kind of see this visualization here where we have a Bitcoin address, and we have a credit card information, and it all ties into this this email essentially, which stores and online stores, they can implement into their like checkout, and allow people who have this form of payment to use that form of payment, and they could like quickly check out, and they could get charged and everything. So what I created here is this framework is using the React Strap kind of stylizing. And so right here we have just like an information page. So we click this menu button, and, click on what is XRP, and it, either Learn More would take you to the respective websites. But let's go to the fun stuff. So I made a live lobby using Socket.io, and it allows people to join a live room, get a wallet created for them, and they could send money to each other in real time, and their balance would update. So I'll run a demo now. So let's say I log into the website, and I hit my name. So I hit login. So in the background right now, a wallet is being created and is getting pre-funded with 300 XRP. So it took some time, and here you have your XRP wallet, and this is a unique wallet that like is for the person. And so we log in with Full Stack, and we hit login. Same thing's gonna happen, and since it's a live server, both users will see when the other person has logged in as well. Cool. So as you can see here, we have me and Full Stack, and we have Full Stack and me. And in the bottom, it displays your account information. So the idea is the PayID is not, it's like a dummy thing right now, because you need like a server to actually run that PayID stuff. But this would in theory, this would look, that's how your account would look like, your email account. And so if I want to send 100 XRP, you click that, it will launch this little pop-up. Let's say I want to send 100 XRP to to full stack. Here's a little loading screen here. It takes a while. And so you see it is updated with 400 XRP. Now, to actually show you guys that we're actually using the actual ledger and blockchain, if we copy this hash address, which is the address, which is like the transaction hash, which tells a person that, hey, this, like, you could think of it as a receipt. To show you that we're actually using the blockchain, this is the ledger that shows, there's a testnet ledger specifically, so it's not like live or anything. If I paste the hash here and click enter, you can see that we're actually using the blockchain ledger, and we're actually doing transactions through the ledger itself between two people. And so if we want to go ahead and do something again, or if I want to send another user, well, again, me, 150. And while we do that, let's open another browser, another window.
And Cesar, let's also start like wrapping it up. Cool.
But yeah, so as you can see, it's doing the transactions, and in the bottom I have all the technologies I've used, and yeah, that is. Oh, and I see like the next thing I would implement for this would be like a transaction history showing all, and I would use a database for that, and it'll show all the transaction history. And yeah, this is like a fun project. This is not live or anything, but trying to put it up in Heroku wasn't really working. So, you know, I would love for you all to try it out one day. Yeah, sorry I took too long.
Nice, no worries, great job. This is really cool. I'm now curious as to like how this all this authentication is going on, and like how like I guess part of that is like that using the hash on these like external servers, but I don't know how do you know more about how that authentication process works?
Yeah, totally. So there's not like I think built into the SDK there's kind of like its own authentication, but what's being done is a wallet is being created at random, and that wallet is not tied to a specific user by any means. It's just whoever has access, whoever has the information, the details pertaining to that wallet, such as a public address, private address, and it's not really a password, but it's just like information that's pertaining to that that wallet. A person has like access to it. So like the authentication comes in when you have that information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's no really like an authentication, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as you have that like information, you could like recreate that wallet, and since it lives on the blockchain,
mm-hmm.
That's your like way to get access to that wallet. It sounds very complicated. I'm probably not explaining it too well, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, very nice, very good job. Does anyone have any questions for Cesar?
Looks awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
that was
fantastic. The whole day writing this program. Yeah.
Cool. Very good job. We'll let's give him a round of applause. And then we'll move on to Mariia. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Let me share my screen. So my project is pretty simple and straightforward. The purpose of this project was to learn React Native. And what I learned from this project is that React Native is a pain in the ass. It's so hard, like I had tons of errors with configurations and settings. It was like this is what I spent most of the time of this hackathon, like googling the errors and trying to figure out what's going on. So first, my project looked like this. So it's kind of like very simple foodie application for I created for iOS. First of all, so you have a login page where you can log in and save, like have your credentials stored. Also in this application, you can choose the food you want to find, like Chinese place, ramen, pizza, pasta, etc., and your city specifically. And then you'll be presented with the options sorted for like different filters, cost effective, big spender, etc. And yeah, so my application worked. I have this, like it worked from the beginning, but then I got this errors with the login and with the database. So I just redid it using Expo, and it was kind of like easier to, because Expo is a wrapper that helps managing all those React Native settings issues. And it helped me. So at this moment, I don't have the login page. I'm still working on that. So I took it out to run, like to have like minimum viable product, just to have my, at least something working. So let me show you what I have at this moment, just a quick demo. So this is my landing page at this moment. And here you can enter the type of food you want to find. For example, let's say pizza, and city will be New York. And you hit enter, and you have those options available. Also, you can scroll it like this. Let's see what I like. Let's take this one. And when you click on the button, you see the information about this place, the address, the phone number, and the pictures took by other users. So what I'm using for this application is Yelp API. So basically all those pictures I'm taking from Yelp and location. And also where I, from the beginning, what I was meant to create is a kind of like login, and so the user can have profile, and he can take a picture and share it. And also, yeah, so for that, I wanted to use the technologies known as Firebase. It's a pretty, it's a kind of like service that give you authorization settings and database. So you can do the database and authentication through this Firebase, and also storage. It's backed by Google Cloud. So I created the database on the Firebase, and I created my users, and users could potentially like the also like there's a rating option I wanted to implement maybe in the future. So the user can like the pictures, like photos, and those photos will be stored in the database as liked by this user. And yeah, for when you create the database, you just link the configuration to your file, and you can use it. It's pretty straightforward, forward and simple to use that. So yeah, and this is basically my pages. So what I did for the Expo project, I use React Native, Expo, as I said, and also hooks and Redux for state management. Let me see, let me show you my code. This is my API, Yelp API, the general app, and all the result details, result list, and yeah, that's it.
Nice job. Nice job. That looks beautiful. I like the sliding, what would it be, horizontal sliding, so to say. Yeah. What was your favorite part of working on this project? Not React Native, clearly, but
yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting to learn something new. I feel like I grow through the process of just creating something, and this is what I really liked. Also, I want to make my login page work and like finish everything I wanted to do to create like some kind of finished product. Yeah, but this is what I have at this moment.
no, yeah, that's great. I mean, in 4 days, this is like a, you know, there are a lot of different technologies that you're implementing, and you're bringing in the Yelp API, and learning React Native is always a headache from everything that I've heard from everyone. So, no, I think you did a great job. Does anyone have any questions for Mariia or comments? Nice. You left them speechless.
The game looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I second Katya's comment on the chat of like, you're making me hungry. All right. Nice. Next up, live on the line, we have Lyle. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Nice. Cool, cool, cool.
All right. So I'll just get right into it. Okay. So hang on, my mouse is not moving. Yeah, so my project is on TensorFlow JS, and I wanted to create a video game identifier leveraging TensorFlow JS and some machine learning. So I'll actually run through a demo because I do have it working, and that's my hand. Can everybody see this? Because all right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
Let me see if I can just pull this away. This bar at the top is making it really hard to actually touch things, but what I have up right now is a camera, and it's taking a look out my window, but it doesn't see any games. So what I did is I trained a model. I leveraged Google's MobileNet. I trained a model and a technique called transfer learning, in which I take a piece of the model and how it was set up to re-identify or identify new things. So in this case, if I slide in this cartridge here, go back, it knows that this is Mario 64. If I take it away, it knows that there's no game present. If I put this game here, it's kind of slow. It realizes it's Paper Mario. And if I put this game here, it knows that it's Pokemon Stadium 2. So this is how, so a lot of the work that went into it was, first of all, understanding what TensorFlow JS is, how machine learning actually works, and a lot of hardworking people at Google developing a model set. The depth of that technology is so vast that I'm just happy that I kind of stumbled across it now instead of like 2 years ago when I first saw it. But more about the project. So I have this button here, generate, and this is just a small demo because I wasn't able to build it out. But if you click generate, it should take you, or on that page, it should generate a website or data and content based on the game that it's looking at. So here I just did a quick mock-up in HTML about Mario 64. And if we go back, sorry. Okay, come on, mouse, work with me. We go back. What's wrong with my mouse today? And we switch it. Pokemon Stadium 2. We click generate. It just sends a Google search. I only built out the Mario 64 one for an example as to how it should work. On the right of my screen, you'll see just a really a small mock-up. A small mock-up of how the app and how the application should work, in which at the top here, it's kind of small, but this would be the camera and the button that would generate the content. So Mario 64, history in the making. And that's just how the application should work. And then it's a small demo, but I really do want to get into a bit of how everything works on the back end. I'll pull up my code. So the libraries that I used in the beginning was TensorFlow JS, and it was working up to the point where you could actually train the model. So this is my training model JS file. As a matter of fact, I'll dispose of that. And if we pull up our training model HTML file, we can click go live. We'll open it up. So here, allow the camera use. So this is actually the program or the application to train the model. The other one is just to generate the content based on the model that I trained. And here you'd be able to put something in and tell it by multiple clicks. This will take multiple pictures of this image and attach the label Pokemon Stadium 2 to it. So I'm teaching the model what it's looking at, what it may be looking at here. And then I'll give it something else to train on. Here we go, Mario. Right, you gotta click the button a couple of times because every time I click on this button, it's taking an image and it's trying to understand what's the difference. And each image improves its ability to test that. And of course, Mario 64, I'm not taking many images, so it might be a little shaky when I finish. And then, of course, it needs to be able to distinguish what isn't a game. So my hand, maybe, this scenery here with my mouse. And then here, I'll click train model, and it's going to run for a little bit. Okay, and now it's been trained. And so now it says, hey, that's not a game. This is Mario 64 and Paper Mario. So this is the idea. Now, I got this working on, I'll say I got this part working on Saturday using just TensorFlow JS, but TensorFlow JS and only TensorFlow JS is lacking an implementation to actually save the model once it's been trained to understand these new things. So I had to use another library called ML5JS, which is a library that's just built on top of TensorFlow for, it's a more, I guess, it's a more beginner friendly library. But it has the ability to save models. So implementing that, we can now save a model, and then it's going to actually save all the data that it took. Model.weights is the training or the the training, the things that I passed in, the images, and we save that file. And the model JSON is more information about the actual labels and things that it has. So this is my project. Let's see, for some reason, it takes a while to load. And so now I have a saved model and I can use this data and, well, for the future, put it on websites or deploy it and use that model and actually serve it to a bunch of users so that they can use it for a bunch of old N64 video games or honestly anything that they want. But yeah, I think that's my project. A lot of the work was understanding TensorFlow JS and understanding neural networks and words like transfer learning, epochs, weights, very weird long equations, but it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and I honestly do hope to build this out more and actually try and implement my own machine learning algorithm. But I know that that's going to take me a lot more time. So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome job, Lyle. So amazing. That's really like such a cool like use of the technology. Like I'm curious like where you would like how you would want to expand on this project moving forward. Oh no, it's okay.
Yeah, hold on. I think my audio is.
Can you hear me? This is like
I don't know if you. I can't hear you guys now. Oh man, I'm having the same issue. Hold on.
yeah. Can you hear us now? No.
Did someone say something?
Yeah, no, I'm speaking. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Someone say something again?
Can you hear us? No?
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Yes?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you guys.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, because I hit the mute button and I didn't notice. So I thought something was wrong. I hope I didn't go over too much.
Oh, I mean, it's fine. I was gonna ask just, you know, do you have an idea of like where you might want to take this or like continue to work on it with?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I only trained the model with 3 games, and this might be both just a fun learning experience and cataloging all of the games that I have in my house, but I would want to create some form of video game machine learning repository that in which you can just take a look at almost any video game, be it on your phone or on the computer with a camera, and it just generate content based on it. So kind of like real-time Google image search.
So like if you were playing Super Mario 64, it would be able to identify that you were playing Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I actually was just talking about this game 2 days ago, so it's like it's all coming full circle. This is a really cool and interesting idea, and you know, I think everyone agreed on the chat that it was pretty awesome. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Lyle?
I want to ask Lyle if you can repeat what platform did you use?
So I used, the library I used was MO5J. Oh, hold on. Hold on, one sec.
I think we lost Lyle.
No, I'm back.
Okay.
So the library that I ended up using in the end was called ML5JS. There's a lot of really great tutorials by the Coding Train on YouTube about it and how to get started. but I would say that there's a lot of pre-reading, because there's a lot of words and things that are going to be said that make absolutely no sense, even with his explanation. So a lot of the work ends up just trying to understand, what does he mean by, what does he mean by a hidden layer, an output layer, and all those things. So I would say do MO5JS and those tutorials, and then look at the, I think there's a JavaScript conference about, just about machine learning and how that stuff works. And then I have some Medium articles I can post in the chat.
Maybe you can, drop them in the chat, and we, or in the Slack channel, and we can take a look at them for people who are interested.
Okay.
Great job. So exciting to see all of your projects so far. We're going to move on to Katya.
Yes, guys, you are so amazing. I'm so embarrassed by this. But let me show you what I've got. And actually, Lyle, I was asking because I had another project in mind which can actually use what you've built. So
Okay.
maybe we can discuss it later.
Sure.
You should be able to see my screen now.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. So I'm presenting to you Actuary. This is a to-do list, a mobile application that integrates, or in theory it should integrate with Google Calendar, and it helps you stay on top of your goals, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goals. And the idea behind this application was to have everything in one place for everything you'd ever want to do, to reach in your life, or so that you can actually set up the time on the calendar to do those things, because sometimes it can get lost in a lot of those to-do lists that I personally create for myself. Let's see. I've built a little bit of this brand here. I'm planning to have some shirts. And that's basically how it's supposed to look like on your phone.
All the swag is so good.
The resources that I use is the business name generator. I draw wireframes in Figma. And I use React Native and Expo, just like Mariia did, which was interesting. What I plan to use when further working on this project is the Google Calendar API, the async storage, and the database that I have not connected yet. So this is my login page, and when the user logs in, they basically create an account where I can use, which I can use then to sync all their to-do lists. So when they, I don't know, switch their phone or, I don't know, log out, they still have access to those things. Once you log in, you are prompted to this navigation page. You would have a set of weekly, monthly, and yearly goals. You will also have a burger menu. And I do have several ideas of what can be inside there. One of the cool things I'm thinking of is once you've actually achieved one of your goals, or you mark thing as done, you can send it to the end of the year review. That will give you things that you've achieved because you devoted time to doing this, which I think is a cool thing. Then you have access to your profile where you can change your email or something. And then if you are to add a task in your, for example, weekly set of tasks, you are prompted to this next page. So it's a simple to-do list, but it has the estimation of how much time you would need to perform this task. You can either mark this task done, and it will be like grayed out and through and push to the end of the list, or you can select several, and here at the bottom you have several options that you can use. You can either delete those forever, you can send them to Google Calendar, which is the main idea. And what it does when you send it, it looks for those early spots in your calendar, like do you have something for an hour and a half empty in your calendar, and we'll put the task in there for you. So you don't have to go to the Google Calendar and actually like type it in that I have to do my laundry today and it will take me 2 hours. So, but these are future plans yet. The problem that I faced when I thought of the presentation is that I actually need Android simulator on my computer. And unfortunately that did not work. That is why, for those of you interested how this can work without having it on your computer, let me actually exit this. Oops. And I stopped sharing my screen, I'm sorry. So basically you can use Expo on your phone. And just like you do with any regular project that we're used to, you just start your application. And on your phone, you would have this little Expo app. You would log into it and you can just scan the QR code that we'll see in a second. This one. You scan the QR code and voila, you're gonna have it on your mobile phone. I'll just give it a second. And I'm gonna just quickly show you how it looks on my phone. Just in a second. And the thing that I tried to install was Android Studio. I think it's the most common simulator for Android. Unfortunately, it did not work. I'm planning to attempt it one more time. But the Expo works perfectly fine if you do not have like to screen share, just like if you just want to see how it looks on your phone, and that's it basically. While it's loading, let me, so I don't take more of your time, share my plans. So I'm going to, and I'll share the screen again really quick. So I'm planning to basically further educate myself on how React Native works. I want to connect my application to the server, integrate it with Google Calendar API, and maybe think of some extra features and make it available to public, basically. And actually, it is loaded. So let me stop sharing. And if you click on the speaker view, you'll see better. So here, my application is loaded. I'm sorry, I have to show it on my phone, but you do what you gotta do, right? So you enter your information here. Let me do my email, some password, and I log in and prompt to my account. The cool thing is you can also swipe here and you can think of like any color you can use, which is really cool. I thought it would be actually harder to implement, but there is a lot of information out there. And if I go to my weekly tasks, for example, I already have something in here, and I can delete things that I've already done. Maybe not too many dates this week. So basically, that's all I have accomplished so far. And I have one picture for all of you. Hey, kitty cat. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Everyone give Katya a round of applause. So nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a great job with implementing the React Native and like kind of thinking out different ways to make the to-do app like to put a new spin on it. I like the idea of like being able to integrate with Google Calendars and like finding free time for people. I think that's really smart. As well as like incorporating like not just like the like immediate to-dos, but also like yearly goals. It reminds me actually of this like when I was in high school, one of our teachers like in freshman year had us write letters to our future selves that like in senior year they like put in our mailboxes, and for whatever reason it like kind of like sparked that memory for me, like looking at like to you know, this opportunity to like think ahead and like think about what you want to do for, you know, your future self. So I really liked it. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Katya?
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah. Cool. Great job. Applause again. And we're gonna move on to Juan.
Hey everyone. Okay, let me just share my screen. Maybe. See. Cool. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So, could you guys see the screen I have in front of the PowerPoint right now, or do you just see the PowerPoint?
Just the PowerPoint.
Okay, cool. So, hey everyone. Let me just preface this by saying that I also had a hard time with React Native. I spent hours on like a single bug. Oh my gosh, regardless of all the documentation. Well, anyway, right? Hey everyone, my name is Juan. I'm a Brooklyn native, and growing up, I've met a lot of people not from the city, many of which have always brought up my lingo. As many of you know, growing up in New York brings you up trying to finish this project. Or when you want to know where your friend is at, you would say something like, "Yolos, where you at?" So, all right. So, and so like after today, you'll not only know exactly where I'll be at, but you'll also know where your friends are at, and they'll know where you are. So that brings me to my project, Where You At? So, right. Could you guys see the next slide? Okay. So, Where You At is an app that uses your location and everyone else's in your network. And lets you know where everyone is at. You can use this information to avoid voluminous crowds or go to where the party's at. To sign up, let me just switch my screen one more time because now I'm gonna show you my app. So please forgive my terrible UI skills. There it is. So like to sign up, all you need is to provide a username, a name alias, a valid email, and a password. Luckily, I already have an account, so I'm just gonna put in my email, put in my school email, just in case there are any recruiters out there watching. Oh, this goes out to you recruiters. My password, and I log in. And as you can see, I'm immediately greeted by my newsfeed. It's a place where you can let your network know where you'll be at, and you'll see the responses. As you can see, I'll be at West 4th handball courts later. Over in the middle of the navigation bar, you can see the exploration map. And here we can see where our network is at. From this heat map, we can tell where most of my network is at. And since most of the people that I follow are handball players, I can tell what parks are gonna be like the most hot. So I have okay, yeah, so it's like this, right? So from here, from my, according to my network, right, park to be at is West 4th, because of the heat map tells you the amount of people that are there. Here's a couple other local parks that I spend my time in, as some people are there, not as much as at West 4th. Yeah, from this view, I know which park to go to get the most games. And if you look at the top left at the hamburger menu, you see that there's a feature to have followers and follow people, right? This is a social media app. And you can also see that we have a profile feature as well, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time to implement it. But the profile feature will release on the alpha version, the 0.02 coming Christmas 2020. And yeah, that's my app. Where you at?
This is very cool.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, do you actually have 96,000 followers, Juan?
No, I wish.
Are you thinking, like, because when I saw that, I immediately was like, oh, okay, maybe like linking those up with social media. Like, are you planning on? Would you plan on this being like its own kind of like self-enclosed profile, or would it be linked to other accounts that people would have? Let's say.
I would probably see if I could expand it using like Passport.js to like sort of give other people like the ability to sign in via other mediums. But I think I'd want this to be like a standalone social media. I was actually because I know that, so I play handball, and like the market in handball is like it's like really fresh. There aren't any like products, any apps that cater to like that community. So people are always wanting to know where everyone is playing at, and I feel like I can actually launch this and have it become like a viable product. So yeah, what I took out of this experience or this opportunity of like working on a project is to like sort of start my own startup. I've been meaning on starting this app, and like having this time, I was actually able to finally put in the time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks great. And the heat map, so like I saw you have like 3 followers, right, in this account, in this example. Is that what it was? Or you're following 3 people?
Yeah, I'm
so, like,
following 3 people, yeah.
So how did you tell the difference between like the different, because I think in Washington Square there was like a red dot, for example, and then in some of the other ones, like it was more like green or yellow. Like, so how did you create the differentiations for like, you know, the like is it like the number of people that are at one spot? So
yeah. So the greater the greater volume of people that are at in a particular area, the hotter the zone will be. And I think it's proportional to like the overall amount of people there. So yeah, this right now is just dummy static data. I wanted to incorporate it with like Firebase and make like just like populate it with fake data and try to like see if I can like emulate like a real heat map. I didn't have enough time to do that because I had ended up changing my mind like 4 separate times over the weekend. So yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
It looks great. Great job. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a question. That's a really cool idea. I think I was wondering, do you share your information with only your followers or everyone that has this app? Or are you thinking of creating maybe a feature where you can share your location only with certain people? Like you have a party, but you don't want everybody to be on the party.
Yeah.
Like you want certain people to go.
Yeah, I know that there are huge risks with like privacy. I think that I would kind of disclose that with the people who are downloading the app, but that would be completely contingent on like the person using it. If they want to share it with whoever they want to share it, they'll have that ability to do so.
Yeah, and then maybe like like you can, like your heat map will tell you how many people are in one space, but they don't necessarily tell you which people are in that space.
Yeah.
And that might also help to protect privacy as well.
Yeah, I was gonna implement like a feature, like a general feature to see like the volume of people at a certain area, for example. Like that could totally be useful now if in case you want to go someplace, right? You don't want to stay indoors during the pandemic. You want to go out, but you want to avoid crowds. You can use the heat map to go to places that aren't as crowded. Or, you know, when it's over, you can go where the party's at.
When it's over, we all pray.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. Great job.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Mariia.
Han, did you use Google Maps for that, right?
Yeah, I
How
used
did you
Google Maps.
implement that? Using CocoaPods, or how did you do that?
Oh, I how I implemented the
Yeah,
heat map.
yeah.
I used so Google API has heat map implementation. A heat map like kind of feature, and so instead of using markers, it used the volume of markers to sort of simulate the heat map. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
I would say look at a Snapchat. Snapchat has a very similar feature where you like go on the camera app and swipe down. You could see something very similar.
Yeah.
Where like you could see where your friends are located and like the heat map and all that stuff, and then you like zoom out. Like
Yeah, I knew I know about Snapchat's map feature of friends and stuff.
yeah.
But like I think the thing about this app would be that this would be its premise, where Snapchat is just about stories and like temporary messages. That's like its secondary product. This would be like its main thing, and I think that this would look, so initially this is going to be targeted towards the handball community, because I know a lot of people, if not the entire community, is just wanting to know where the games are at. But eventually I'm going to expand this to sort of be more like rooms. You can enter like a room, for example. It won't be a room, I don't know, this is just like an arbitrary like a abstract idea right now, but like you can go and check like which bars are the most populated, or it could be for different sports, right? You want to get a good game, like a good basketball game, handball game, I don't know, hockey game. You just check which parks have the most players playing this particular sport, and you go and you get the competition. Yeah.
Nice. Any final thoughts, questions? No, I think we're just gonna, yeah, I think it looked really good, and you did a great job. Yeah, for
Thanks.
sure. So we're moving on to Shmuel. How's it going?
Yes, hi everyone.
Hello.
So let me share my screen now. So I'm actually embarrassed about my project. Everyone made amazing things here. So I just made a simple game. Everybody knows this game. It's a paddle and the ball, and you have to knock down all the bricks. And if it falls off, it's game over. And that's basically it. And pause and play. Pause, play. Yeah. I started working on it like Saturday night, because I couldn't decide on what to do. First, I wanted to make like an evolution simulation, natural selection, like you have creatures and you introduce random mutation and like a 3D environment, and you see how the creatures evolve to adapt to the environment. But I started to learn WebGL, and I started to realize that I wouldn't be able to finish it, because just to make one triangle, I had to make like 30 lines of code. So Orlando told me to just make a simple game, and so I just made this. Yeah, so this is my project.
Nice. This is like one of my favorite games forever. Can we see some of your code?
My code, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to walk us through some of what you worked on.
So I just used simple JavaScript, everything in one file. I didn't do any like any of these what's it called, dependencies, and like React or Webpack. I just used simple JavaScript. And here is all the variables: ball X speed, ball Y speed, ball X direction, ball Y direction, and the speed, and the here whatever. Here's the levels. So that's basically it.
So how did you calculate, for example, like if a ball falls on the paddle, like in the center versus if it falls on the left or the right? Like, how did you kind of like structure your conditional, your conditionals to create the logic behind this game?
Yeah, so where is it? Yeah, so I think here was all the logic. So here I make if ball X. So I have the paddle position, and I make that if ball X is more than paddle position minus the width. The paddle position is at the center of the paddle, and then we have the width divided by 2. So if it's more than the X width divided, whatever, it's complicated. So. But here's all the logic.
Very cool. How did you feel working on a game like this? Like, did you like work like because like, you know, you can definitely take something like this and like turn it into like not only maybe like like a more precise version of this, but like also you can take, you know, like work on other types of games as well.
Yeah, I wanted to make more features, but I didn't know what to do. I wanted to make a main menu, and meanwhile I only have 2 levels. I'm not good at designing, but I didn't know how to implement it.
What are the 2 levels that you have?
2 levels?
Yeah.
Just, let me make level 2. So with level equals 2. Now restart again. Again.
Oh, cool. Nice. You know, don't downplay this, because you know, this is where it all started, and like you know, people will spend hours playing these games, so myself included. This looks really cool. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Shmuel?
I love this game as well, and actually think it is hard to build, like to calculate those things. So very good job.
I agree. I saw the logic and I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I know, and now I'm entranced watching this ball bounce back and forth. It's so good. Nice. Great job. Good job, Shmuel. Cool. Now let's move on to Nan.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
So let me start sharing my screen. Okay. So my project is built around the idea of art and code. Back when I was a graphic design student, I took animation class, and it took me about 3 or 4 or more sleepless nights to create a 10 seconds animation. So I'm thinking that, oh, maybe if I can create an app that makes the artist's life easier when it comes to animation, that would be great. However, going through that, I make my life a little difficult by trying to create this. And the whole app takes so much detail. But what I learned from it right now is learning how to create the parallax 3D effects. And what it looks like is this. So once you hold the image and you move around, it will create like this effect that gives you the sense of like 3 dimensions and sort of like interactive. So how do I make that? So first of all, this image that you guys see, this is not one image. It's actually a composed of 8 different layers, which I will show you. What I do is in my illustration, I can break it down for you here. So everything is like individual layers, and I put it on top of each other. So the most important thing that in this one image needs to have 4 elements, which is foreground, background, the figure is what you're seeing, and the shadow that pretty much will be matching your figure. So if I add it in, you guys can see, okay, I add the background, I add a little element, a little bit more detail, right? And I have my feature, I have my frame up. And another most important part is the foreground. So it creates that pop effect on your image. So I add that. All right. So once I have that, I export it into my code here. Oh, okay. Under images, like all of them individually will be on my file. So to work with that, let me go to my JS page. All right. So what makes image move? The image moves based on the latitude value of X and Y that I get from the event listener. So I will console log along so you guys can see. It's a lot easier to actually see the image. Here, for example, let me get my console log. Okay, here. So you see a whole bunch of things right now. But what happened is that, so when I click this, right, this is what it gives you. It gives you the event value. And in that event value, have a property that called client X and client Y. These value are the, what is called the coordinate value of X and Y from the screen. Pretty much give you the locations where your mouse is pointing, clicking. And from that, I will use this X and Y value to calculate of like how much each layer needs to move in order to create the effects that you guys see. So if you see this like moving pointer array, right? I mean, not array, moving pointer values. Once you click, it's happening, it's moving and it changes every time. Actually, let me go down. Let me clean this right quick. Okay. All right, here. You guys see moving pointer value change based on where the mouse moves to. And then, yeah. And every time you guys see the moving pointer that console log behind the scene, what it does is go through my array. And in this array, is each object is each layer that I list out. So it will go through all the array and it will render each layer according to the XY value that I have calculated here. So one thing really cool is that I use request animation frame, which is part of the, I think it's like HTML canvas. Oh, that's also the technology that I learned through this. So what it does is that it allows the function to render the image to render 60 times in 1 second. Without this, my app will crash. Like you're not going to be able to see like this moving. It would be too much to load. So using request animation frame allow me to give that like nice smooth move. Yep. And another cool thing, one of the challenging thing is to really come up with the solution. I mean, like the idea behind what number you want to put in to calculate that angle. And toward the end of my project, I learned about tween library. So, oops, hold on, can I just turn? Anyways, oh, okay. So the tween library is the library that help you with your animation. So here, it's like from MIT, it's a part of create.js. It have like sound.js, tween.js. So what it does is that it gives you animation a better effect. So I'm gonna demonstrate it really quickly. What you see. So for example, this value, if I would want to change it to, let's say 2 instead of 0.3, what is, oh, sorry, Kat wanted to join the presentation. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, Kat. So what happened is that once you move, it's not gonna be like get the same effect as you guys did earlier. So to really get the right number on this part is actually the most challenging thing. And another thing that I use tween is on my get gesture function. So what I want to do is that as I move my image around, when I release my mouse, I want the image to come back to the same position, which is pointer X and pointer.x0 and pointer.y0, right? So that's what I have earlier before tween. So I will compare, let you guys see the difference between using tween and not using tween. So here you can see that when it's come back to the same position, it's kind of a little flat like this, right? Kind of doesn't have that little bounce moment. But when I use tween, okay, when you bounce, it has like a little bounce back effect. So just a little thing, but I think it does a lot to like a user experience. Yeah, and that's it. That's the end of my project, my little moving project. So I guess if you have a background music, you kind of like can dance this thing along with the beat. So that's kind of cool. That's what I've been doing all day after I finish it. So just like keep moving. But that's it for me.
Very cool. Let's give her a nano round of applause. Yeah. Yeah, this is really cool. It was reminding me of like browsing on the New York Times constantly, and they have all these really amazing parallax effects on like some of their big features. I think that they're hiring, by the way. So like, you know, just plant that seed. This looks really amazing. What were like some of the challenges of working on this project?
First of all, like you have to think about the layers before you create the image. That's one level extra. And then once you put the layers together, the most part is calculating those 0.3 number to make the right angle.
So yeah, I was gonna say, how did you know, like was that like trial and error at that point?
I kind of debugging about it all day. So I pretty much put random number, you know, for like, let's say 1 to 10, and I kind of like see the difference between the two. So I kind of find a balance between those two numbers. And yeah, so but it's pretty much a whole bunch of trying out random number. Yeah. To be honest with you, I wish I could know the formula behind this, but I honestly don't know yet.
Yeah. Anything that any ideas for what you might want to do with, you know, this particular project moving forward?
Yeah, I do want to create like an app or software that maybe allow you to upload image in layers, and then I would combine them together and create the effects for you. I also think about something like upload one images and then create the effect from one images, but I'm still thinking about it because in order to create it, it needs to be layered. So that's like one part that I'm like not sure what to do yet. If anybody have any idea, feel free to DM me.
Yeah, moving from graphic design and you know, like that's all you're doing, graphic design, like layers on layers on layers on layers. So like it's kind of cool to see that like being extrapolated to software design and software engineering. So very cool. Any comments or questions for Nan?
Yeah, I have something. Something cool you could incorporate is something called 3.js, and it's basically like a 3D library with WebGL rendering, and it allows you to basically like easily render 3D objects on using JavaScript essentially. And like there's like a bunch of projects. If you go to their website, it's called 3gs.org. 3js.org. They have like a bunch of projects on the side, and like you could like just click and check them out. Like there's some projects they incorporate 3GS and kind of use it to like create you can check it out.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. That sounds really cool. Sounds like I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, for sure. That was something I was like considering doing with my project like initially, and then like I ended up doing what I did. But yeah.
So it's really cool. Thank you. Yeah.
No problem.
Nice. Well, great job. Very lovely. And now we're going to the last presentation of the day. Woo! What's up, Linda?
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Let me share my screen first. Okay, so can everyone see?
Yes.
All right, cool. So, so for my project, I decided to build my own digital instrument, a synthesizer, because I like producing music. And one of the challenges that I face is that when, if you're a electronic musician, you usually incorporate digital sounds. And for a lot of digital musicians, they like to use synthesizers. And as you can see on this page, this synthesizer costs about $5,000. It's not very economical. So, and I know that like owning a synthesizer is, you have to have a lot of money to be able to even buy a secondhand synthesizer. So I decided to make my own. So the premise of this instrument is based off of the most basic of like sound waves. So my synthesizer can produce these 4 basic sound waves. And the way that a synthesizer works is that from these basic sound waves, you either add to the wave or subtract to the wave, which creates its own distinct sounds. So I can play a demo of it. Okay. Sorry if it's a little loud. So my synthesizer creates these basic waves, and from these options, I can add or subtract to these to create its own unique, distinct profile. So you can basically customize your own sound. There are more examples. Also, I created an envelope tweaker. So for every sound wave, you can adjust its attack, decay, sustain, and release to create a more sophisticated sound. I don't know if you guys can hear the difference. One of the biggest challenges that I faced making the synthesizer is creating this envelope system because I just did not understand sound design. And I didn't know how to conceptualize like adding or subtracting from these waves. The library that I used is called Tone.js, and they provide some of the foundations of like creating a synthesizer. So over here, I can show you what my instrument looks like. Let's start here. So I designed this instrument, and it has some of the foundations for some of these sounds, like just the regular sine wave sound, a sawtooth, a triangle sound. But in order for you to create some of those like more customized sounds, you have to adjust the attack, decay, sustain, and release. And I think just doing the math for that part was a little difficult, because if you're trying to add, you have to change the attack to a specific way. If you want to, elongate the sound, you have to adjust the sustain a certain way. Eventually, I want to be able to deploy this app and like make it available for all of my producer friends that can't afford a $5,000 synthesizer. And that's pretty much it.
Very cool. This is so neat. Yeah, I think this is really an interesting idea. And I think it also like brings into focus like how technology can make so many more more things accessible to the general public. You know, like how do we kind of create more equity in like, you know, like in the traditional ways, but then even if you look at something like music and like being able to like produce and create music, like this is something that your project would help to create. I'm curious, like looking forward, like what you know, like what features you would want to continue to add on, or like how you would want to continue to like add more sounds.
So far, this synth is monophonic, so it can only play like one sound at a time. So if I were to hit just one key, it would just play like one arpeggiated note. So in the future, what I would like is to transform this into like a polyphonic synth. So if you were to like play with a keyboard, you can play more than like one note at a time, or have like the option to be able to have this synth to be monophonic or polyphonic. I also want to add more like sound effects, like maybe include like reverbs or echoes or tremolos to this, and to create an interface to be able to kind of use. I want to like steer away from the traditional keyboard and to create more of like a Euro rack look to it. And I think those are things that I'll be like thinking about making in the near future.
Would you also want to create like some kind of recording functionality, or would that be like a different like would that be apart from this?
I think instead of recording, I think instead I'll create a database where you can store your sounds, like customizing these sounds, so you don't have to like redo them when you load up this application again.
Cool. Yeah, this is really awesome. Any questions or comments for Linda?
I have a question. I'm not very familiar with the subject, but I'm just interested how you can use it. So you were saying that you store the sound, but are you actually going to use the app during DJ set, or is it something that you just store as a library for yourself to then use on some other app to record the music?
Yeah, I was thinking about integrating this into a program called Ableton Live. So this is like a music production type application, and there is a digital synth that's on this Ableton program, and it's called Massive. Let's see if I can open this up. Here it is. And a lot of people add to this library. There's like thousands of sounds and thousands of like custom synthesizers on this. So eventually I do want to add my own onto this, so I could use like my own, like, you know, my own version of Massive.
Do you see yourself like maybe making a mobile version of this?
Well, after hearing all of you guys having issues with React Native, I'm not sure. Probably.
No, it's actually not that bad. Like, I had issues with Simulator, not with React.
Awesome. Great job, Linda. This is really cool. And that, I guess, wraps it up for Stackathon. Give yourselves a round of applause, guys. These were all such great presentations. Oh man, I'm so proud of you. And think about where where you started. Think about, where you were a month and a half, 2 months ago, like writing your, like, your hello worlds and React and like, looking at Express and being like, what's a back end? And like, now here you are, like building your own app. So this is like a really great accomplishment for each and every one of you. So right now it is 11:56. You do have the rest of the morning off. So enjoy some well-deserved rest. Hopefully, you did sleep a little bit during the weekend, but if you want to just like chill out for the next like hour or two until I think we come back for career success at probably 2:30. I'm just going to quickly check the calendar and go through it with you guys to make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, so at 2:30, you have your Peer Tech resume review. So if this is what I remember correctly, is like you'll be paired up with another student, and then like you'll work together, just kind of going through your resumes. And then from 4 to 6, you have career success working time. So I think sometimes like you'll also have office hours with the career success team, but you can work on your resume, you can work on your like job board stuff, your LinkedIn profile. It's kind of just like nice to like unplug from the code for a little while too. Any questions, comments before we head out? Okay. Amazing job, guys. You should be very proud of yourselves. We'll see you after lunch at 2:30.